So we picked the bird up out of the mews from overnight. We're weighing the bird. This bird pretty much lost no weight. It was £1.5 unhooded when I collected him. And if you're weighing a bird hooded or with its swivel, I let the swivel hang down. It doesn't matter that it's additional weight as long as you weigh it with the same things every day. The actual weight of the bird is kind of irrelevant. It's the weight changing and the increments of gain and loss that we're measuring. So don't weigh it one day with a hood on and one day without, of course, or one day holding the swivel up and one day letting the swivel flop down, because it might adjust the weight. These kinds of scales, they're about 15 quid on Amazon. Make yourself an old bit of wood there, look, for a perch, or a lovely gentleman crafted this one for me. Just glue them on with a bit of silicone sealer. The scales themselves will what's the word? They'll take off the weight of the perch when you switch them on. Weigh the bird first. Tie the bird to your glove in case it all goes wrong. Never trust a hooded bird not to fly away. They do and they can. And then the next thing, we're going to write down the weight of this bird in your notebook, in your logbook, on a sheet of paper, on a board in your shed, in your mews, whichever you see fit. We're going to write that down and record the weight. We're going to record the time of day we train the bird and weigh the bird, and we're going to record how much food and what we fed the bird. And very quickly you'll be able to work out what kind of foodstuffs affect the bird's weight ready for the next day, the food quality and the food quantity, and of course whether the weather's warm, cold, or how much exercise the bird does. All factors that will affect the bird's weight from one day to the next, as will the weight itself. A bird that's got lots of muscle and a layer of fat under its skin will lose weight on the same amount of food much slower than a bird that's got a thin keel and is very, very low in condition. So then we're going to pop the bird out to weather for a little while at least, just to let it sort of preen, wake up, browse, get used to the day, have a look around and chill out for a while we prepare everything maybe ready for a training session. He's now got used to this metre high ring perch, which is better in my opinion than a bow perch. I prefer them, but the bird has to understand perching or it will never work out getting up there. So bow perch to start with, whatever. Obviously we're going to unhood the bird. If you are using a higher ring perch, you will need to lengthen the leash so you can get the angle to fly up to the perch. Again, don't put birds on anything but a short leash in that first few days or until the bird's relaxed and not constantly baiting. The longer the leash, the more chance of leg breakages. So we've got our falconry vest on, your falconry bag, whoa, whatever you want in there. You've got your food pouch ready. You're going to pick the bird up, hood the bird. We're going to then, when we do take the hood off the bird, we're going to hook it onto some kind of clip, or you're going to have a hood protector on here, you can pop it in, or you're going to hook it on your ear. You're not going to put the hood in your pocket. When it comes to training perches, have something in your training field that's not like anything else you're going to find in the countryside, or just get a really cheap T-perch made up. Do not train your bird from the top rail of the fences in the countryside. There's a reason for that. Number one, as you start again, the young bird is going to get nervous and it's going to pace up and down, left and right, plucking up courage. It's actually going to give it the ability to sort of get more nervous and take longer to actually get through its training. But much more importantly, you're going to eventually, if you're going to do this, fly that bird to the top rail of the fence. You're going to call it back for reward. You're going to let it fly to the fence. You're going to call it back for reward. It's getting rewarded for flying to the fence indirectly. That's how I fly all my birds in halls and school halls. They're trained to fly to an indoor perch. They never get fed there, but they learn. They touch base on the perch. They come back, they get fed. You would have trained your bird that everywhere you go, there's a rail fence, that if it flies to it, it's going to get a free reward for coming back. It will drive you mad. It's habit forming. You will have a bird that's constantly baiting off the glove everywhere you're out hunting in the country. You won't know whether it's baiting to chase game or baiting to fly to a nearby or far away fence to come back for food. You won't be able to trust the bird. When you're hunting, you don't want to be having to hold those jesses all the time just to make sure your bird's chasing game and not flying off, because it'll see game before you. You're going to hold it back. It's going to hang upside down from the glove, and you'd think, oh, I thought it was going for the fence. It was going for a rabbit after all. Train it to a bespoke perch that's something different to what it's going to see everywhere else. So everything we're doing is about confidence building. So far the bird's eaten as much as it wants every day, and I'm going to carry on like that through this training as much as it wants. The nerves might kick in, might not eat as much as yesterday. It'll naturally lower its own body weight slightly, pique its appetite more for tomorrow, and so on and so forth. At this point, we've not had to decrease the bird's weight or withhold food. It's eaten once a day as much as it wants to eat. We're tied on. Today, hop into the glove. We don't need to do lots of reps. We don't need to give it tiny betchings. 2, 3 or 4 decent rewards for actually achieving something, and then a feed up at the end, more than enough. Remember the last video, hopping across, terrifying. Walking along, easier. Give it a bit of confidence. Don't take food away. I'll tell you about that in a second. He's having a decent chunk of visible food at this stage. Bear that in mind, because that's going to change as we move on. He's eating the food. Let him see all the food's gone. It has. Back he goes. Will he jump this time? Will we achieve more than last time? He's been fed on the glove 2 days since the last time you saw this happen. He wasn't quite ready. Confidence, let him feed on the glove. No asking him to do anything. Just build the confidence in feeding on the glove. You're seeing it in real time, no setting up. Just that confidence of crawling along the glove, straight off the bat, now he's confident to jump. That's it. You've cracked your training of your hawk at this stage, because realistically, all we're going to do now is ask the bird to come further for each bit of food. He's having a chick cut into 3 or 4 bits, nothing smaller. Let him inspect the glove. Don't rush him. Don't rush him around his food. Your hands can be in there. Get him used to your hands being around his feet when he's eating. That'll pay off dividends when you go hunting. Nothing there. Let's pop him back. Let him relax his grip on the glove if his grip's on. You don't want him sticky footed. It can happen with a young hawk. They don't want to let go. Ready again. Full length of the leash. This guy's training himself. A good Harris hawk, maybe a typical Harris hawk. Don't be disheartened if yours isn't like that. My goodness me. I've had Harris hawks when I was younger that were harder than my goshawks to train. But this guy, he's just read the book recently. He knows what to do. Don't let him see where you keep your food. By all means, have your hands around when he's feeding. Never, ever take food away from your hawk. There's one place where you're going to need to. I'll tell you about that further down the line. Give the bird, show the bird, enable the bird to eat whatever you're offering. If you think, like the olden day falconers, and some still do this, you can call him to half a rat or half a rabbit leg, pull the food away, stick it in your pocket without him seeing when he lifts his head up to swallow a bit. If you think your bird doesn't see that, you're mistaken. Got some traffic nearby. Steve the gamekeeper. If you wanted to, you could hood him, put him back on his perch, get yourself all ready, get your food ready maybe, and hood him. That'll stop. If there's any angstiness, you don't want that, but don't hood him until he's relaxed on the glove and he's sure all the food's gone. Got one more bit, well, two more technically, I'll tell you in a second. This bird weighs the same as it did when it was pulled from the aviary. Hasn't been short-changed on food, remember? It's eaten as much as it wants to eat every day, and it hasn't lost any weight. Confidence, habit and routine take you a long, long way. Look at that bird. He's learned already. This has happened today. You've watched it. He's learned that that perch going back there means coming back for more food. Finish him off with a big morsel. And you'll notice, thanks for that. Not good falconry. You'll notice that this guy here, I've now swapped the food. I was holding it between finger and thumb to call him at this stage. I want it visible. It's going down the hatch in one go. Remember, when you're feeding the bird on the glove, this is how to hold the food. I told you why in the last episode. It's easy for you to have such enjoyment and thrill from that bird first jumping to think, I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to go for 10 jumps. I'm going to try and go further today. Rein yourself in. 3, 4, 5, 6 call-offs to decent rewards is plenty. Work with his confidence, work with his brain. Tomorrow we'll go back to this step for 1 call-off, but then we're going to be on the Creance line and we're going to see a bit further flying for sure. And what it means is you're ending on a high, you're ending while the bird's still got its appetite to come for the last bit, feed it on the glove. If you push it, something will go wrong, and if nothing else, it'll lose its appetite and you'll push it 1 more call off, and do you know what's going to happen? It's going to dawdle about, finally pluck up the courage because it's lost its appetite, fly past, get tangled up on the Creance line because you pushed it too far. Get your food in there from day 1 when your bird's eating on the glove. Sorry, not your food, get your fingers in there. Let this bird realise that all this hand ever does is help the bird eat food. It helps it by pulling bits of food off, offering it up. This hand is never a thief. You've only got to steal it a couple of times. You've changed your bird's mentality towards your hand. You're going to start getting holes. You're going to get a bird that's possessive over its food. We don't want that. This forever is going to be the bird's assistant to eating. It's even going to help it subdue quarry later on in the game. Couldn't have gone any better at all. We're just about to start filming part 5. I've just watched part 3 back on the big telly and noticed something that, yes, I should have noticed a long time ago. We put the bird's anklets and kit on, its furniture on, when we collected it from the breeder, and I've put one of the jesses in, the one on the bird's right leg to the left of the picture. I've put the jess through the anklet the wrong way round. This one is correct. You always feed the jesses through the anklets so the button is on the outside of the anklet, if that makes sense, not on the inside. Hold on, like this. This one is incorrect. This is correct from the outside in. We'll talk about that more at the free flying stage when we change the kit, but to suffice to say, if it's threaded through the wrong way, it does make a difference. It is the wrong way, it's not either way matters. This way, the anklet sits well on the leg of the bird. This way, it really doesn't. It encourages the jess to get under the bird's foot, and when the bird baits, it twists the anklet, so it puts more pressure and more discomfort for sure, I think, on the bird's leg. So this really is the wrong way. It's not, it doesn't matter. Always feed them from the outside in. Thought I'd bring that up. We finally found something sort of wrong that always helps to learn. But yeah, what a muppet. I think we'll be 4 episodes in by the time I've noticed. Dear oh dear, but hopefully you've learnt from that. Creance line training today. We don't need to go far. We're just going to go from hopping to some attempt of flying. We need to be away from any possible trees or any fences, hedges, anything the bird could reach on the creance. Ideally we need mowed grass. Just the odd long bit of grass will snag on the line. You really want it as billiard smooth as you can, not concrete in case a bird comes down. You do want it on grass. And when you unravel a creance line, you're doing it like this, not like this, because this will fill your line full of kinks. We unravel it like this and we wind it up like this, not like this, not like this. Get yourself ready. And then the creance line, really importantly, it's going to be in our pocket. It's not going to be staked in the ground, tied to the perch. The whole point of this is we don't trust the bird yet. He might fly off. If this is permanently on a fixed point, think how much line that bird's going to pull out, how fast it's going to go before a sudden stop, pulling the bird's joints out, breaking its legs. This should be in your pocket secure, and the line run over your little finger so you have control to feather the bird gently down. It's never going to come to an abrupt stop because you're going to do it properly. So it doesn't matter if you tie to the bird's jesses or the bird's swivel, neither will break, because you're not going to stand there, watch the bird fly and suddenly go ping at the end of the line. You're going to move with the bird and gently feather it down. In your pocket. I'm going for this pocket, it's easier. Not staked down, tied to anything. Okay, you have your leash tied on every time, remember. Refer to the first video. I don't, you must do that. We're going to put the jesses in safety position because we're going to be taking the leash off. Safety position. When the leash is off, that is a backstop. It's not going to slip out your hands. Every single time you untie the bird, put those jesses in safety position. Don't put the leash in your pocket. You'll pull something out, it'll be gone forever. Put it somewhere you can get it. Double it over. Pull the ends back through. You know where it is. Safety position. You're going to tie 2 Falconers knots. If you have to stand on that, do so. Get a bit of tension. If you haven't learned how to do a Falconer's knot, we'll cover it later on. Don't worry, we'll cover that soon. If you haven't got that basic thing sorted, I'll build it into the series. Okay, the bird is now on the creance line. Creance line is in my pocket so I can move with the line. We're going to go back to basics, a short hop like yesterday. This is real time, and then we're going to push the bird and encourage you with confidence, exactly like we did yesterday for the hop. We're just increasing distance, so now we need the creance line, a line of distrust, a training line, because at this stage, if something like a horse, he's not seen a horse yet, bolts down the field, sends him off up to the tree in panic, and he's not on a training line, this bird at this stage could lose its head completely and be very difficult to reclaim, hunger or no hunger, over the next couple of days. Early stages of training, we need to make sure we can trust the bird. The worst bit of kit in falconry, no falconer enjoys the creance line. Every novice employs the creance line for far too long and far longer and too long a distance, but we'll talk you through that. If you allow the bird to fly back and the line flicks around there and you call him, you're going to ruin that bird's confidence. It's going to try and fly to you and it can't. Always make sure you've got control of the line. Make sure it's in a good position before you call the bird back. Hood's off. Loop the line over your little finger. You've got full control. We're going to go for a jump like yesterday. Remember, a few decent rewards. That's what we're going to do. Holding a hand slightly higher than the perch. I've got Ryan filming. There was no one with us yesterday. He's a little bit nervous. I saw him look at the camera and Ryan, but he's still gone through the motions. A decent reward. Remember, we're only doing a couple or a few hops at this stage. We're just using the bird's confidence, not his weight. He still weighs the same, £1.5. Slightly big bit of reward there. So refer to yesterday's video and all the videos in the set. Get your hands in there. They're here to help the bird, not to steal. Let the bird relax. Let him check there's no food, remember. Let him relax his grip. If this is too windy, I'll have to overlay, but we'll see if we can use this footage. Okay, back you go. There we go, a little bit of sticky footedness there. Line over the little finger. You're going to push him a little bit further. What's that? 2 meters, a couple of yards. We're showing him the food at this stage. Remember, we're calling him now. Brilliant. Get secure of the bird, get secure. Into the wind if there's a breeze, or across the wind. Do not train the bird downwind. It has no control whatsoever. It'll fly on by because it doesn't know how to stop. Bird's still got to learn about the wind and how to use the wind. It's certainly tucking in. Remember, in that yoke, there's moisture for this bird. It's unlikely your bird will have drank or even bathed at this stage. Don't rush, just chill out. And we might be able to send him back, we might not. Yes, just a little bit, getting that repetition. We're not going to just suddenly stretch this out, and to be honest, this distance is just fine. At this stage, we can bring in hand signals. The white of your hand stands out against all the greenery and brownery of the countryside. Your country wear doesn't. Your voice might get carried away in the wind, your whistle, but that is a really good long-range flag to this guy's eyesight. He's read the book. Look at this. This is all real time. We've done nothing since the last clip, which was only yesterday. So let him relax, or he'll keep that grip. He'll stick to the glove, sticky-footed. If you're worried, just gently roll your glove until you can feel the bird's grip has relaxed. Let's see if it's relaxed enough. Go. You can do it. Look at the line. Got to flick it back across. Hand signals. I'm actually going to stretch it out a little bit more for this last couple. Just because this bird is showing me he's full of confidence. That hard bit inside the day-old cockerels is the hard, muscly gizzard. Feel free to throw that away at any point. Ugh. No food. I've got control of the bird. I've still got some control here. It's not free to jump up and attach itself to my face because I've pushed it too far. It's nervous and now it's frightened. It's not your pet. It's a captive bred wild animal, and at any point it could have fight or flight. Always remember that. Your eyes are important. Whoa. Correct stuff. So he's had a good bit of food, guys, but the food's in his crop. It's not hit his tummy yet, so he's still feeling keen and hungry for his breakfast. This is more than enough. You can see him wriggling his neck there. He's he was putting the food over, as I said that, from his crop into his tummy. The crop's the swag bag. Once it's hitting the tummy, he's filling up on these big bits we're having for training. How amazing is that? Really is just textbook bird. You should be able to get your hands around the food. Remember, if you do this from the beginning, if this hand means nothing but helpful and not thieving, you shouldn't get grabbed. And a Harris hawk, unlike a red tail, it's normally almost apologetic when it grabs your hand in this manner and should let go pretty quick. It's a sociable species. And that's it, we're going to feed him up. I could have done maybe another 4 or 5 jumps. We could have kept going until he stopped, and then we're going to end on a big negative with the bird, his nerves kicking in a bit more than his appetite, him flying up a tree, or him just sitting for ages. We end on one where we've waited ages. What you want when you're calling your hawk is an instant response, not, yeah, when I feel like it. He's certainly got some appetite now. Now he's doing some work for his food. But he's certainly going, you greedy pig. He's certainly going as he's read the textbook for sure. So later in the video, I'll give you some more tips and ideas about stuff we're doing. Picking the bird up off the perch, we'll recap on that. And we'll see a bit more Creance training before, of course, we fly the bird free. What we're looking for is 20 yards, 25 meters or whatever. It's more than enough. We don't have to go 100 meters, 50 meters of cool-offs before we can fly this bird free. We're looking at 20, 30 meters maybe, and we're looking at that instant response. And we're training in a field that's not our hunting field. Don't do your training and your bird exercises in the hunting field, because later on it'll be distracted looking around for game. Always have the training field or areas in a training field, different places, separate from your main hunting field. Excuse me. You can see how big his crop's gone. As a rule of thumb, because he's getting some castings in this, some of the nails, the fur or the feathers, the stuff he can't digest, he's got to bring up as a pellet. As a rule of thumb, allow about 18 hours from the last time you fed the bird until the next time you train the bird. 24 hours is okay, of course, but usually you're looking about 18 hours to make sure that bird's system's gone through the whole process. He won't want to fly if he's got a pellet about to be coughed up anytime soon. You can feed the bird and train it twice a day by giving it just meat in its first meal, no casting. Your training is going to be a lot easier, the initial training, if you train the bird once a day and give it all of its food in that training session. If you split it up into a couple of actual training sessions, you're going to make your life harder with the whole weighing, condition and appetite thing. By all means, use other times to carry the bird. The manning and training process merges into one, and it never ever ends. I'll see you later in the video. So a couple of things at this stage that I need to throw in that mix, more tips and tricks. When you pick your bird up to untie it from its perch, you're not only picking up and putting those jesses in safety position, you are never untying your bird until that bird is in your hands, not while it's on the perch. Similarly, when you return the bird to the perch, do not allow it ever to jump to the perch until you have finished those 2 falconers knots, ever. If your bird's constantly baiting to get to the perch while you're trying to tie it on, stick your hand on top of the perch with the bird on top of your hand. Do not let your bird fly, jump, hop to a perch until it's secured to the ring, ever do that. I see good falconers allow their bird to fly to its garden perch, its muse, or rather its weathering perch, with a swivel and leash attached, and they say, oh, it's never flown off. Well, it's never flown off until the day it flies off and dies in a tree. Don't ever let your birds do that. Also, of course, at this stage, the bird's calm in your garden, on your weathering lawn. The bird understands the perch. It's sitting much more contentedly nowadays, not baiting all the time, not sitting on the ground. Now's the time, definitely put in a bath so your bird can have a bath or a drink, but put the bath to the side. That at this stage you approach the hawk, because it's still likely at this stage, even though it's coming on the Creance, to bait from nerves from you, away from you. Have it so it's baiting away from the bath, not into the bath. Just be precautious. Is that a word? Just take precautions.